Have you ever felt a shiver down your spine while listening to an old story by a crackling fire? Not because of a jump scare, but because of a deep, unsettling feeling you can't quite shake? That's the power of folklore. These aren't just simple tales for children. They are ancient mirrors reflecting our deepest, most primal fears. Today, we're going on a journey beyond the happily ever afters, to uncover the profound psychological horror woven into the very fabric of these stories. We'll explore how tales of hungry wolves, candy houses, and stolen children tap into anxieties that have haunted humanity for centuries. Forget what you think you know about fairy tales. We're about to venture into the dark, tangled woods of the human psyche, and I promise, you'll never look at Once Upon a Time the same way again. Let's start with a classic, Little Red Riding Hood. On the surface, it's a cautionary tale about stranger danger. Don't talk to strangers. Stay on the path. Simple, right? But psychologically, it's so much more. The big bad wolf isn't just a predator. He's a symbol of the hidden dangers that lurk beneath a veneer of civilization. He can talk, he can reason, he can disguise himself as a sweet old grandmother. This represents a profound fear. The fear that evil isn't a monstrous other, but something that can look just like us, even like those we trust the most. The story preys on our anxiety about vulnerability and the terrifying possibility of being deceived by a charming facade. The woods aren't just a physical place, they represent the unknown, the transition from the safety of childhood innocence to the perilous world of adulthood, where not everything is as it seems. The horror isn't just being eaten by a wolf. It's the dawning realization that the world is not a safe place, and that true monsters wear friendly faces. Now, let's wander over to the story of Hansel and Gretel, two children, abandoned in the woods by their own parents due to famine, stumble upon a house made of gingerbread and sweets. It seems like a miracle, a dream come true in their moment of greatest desperation. But this dream is a trap, a lure set by a child-eating witch. The psychological horror here is multi-layered. First, there's the primal fear of abandonment. The ultimate betrayal isn't from a stranger, but from their own parents, the very people who are supposed to protect them. This taps into a child's deepest anxiety. What if the people I depend on for survival discard me? Then there's the house itself. It represents the danger of temptation, how our deepest desires can be used to ensnare us. In a state of starvation, what could be more tempting than an endless supply of food? The witch uses their desperation against them. The story serves as a chilling reminder that when we are at our most vulnerable, we are also most susceptible to predation. The true terror isn't just the witch. It's the idea that your own survival instincts, your own hunger, could lead you directly into a trap. These themes of hidden dangers and twisted temptations are not unique to European folklore. All around the world, cultures have their own boogeymen that embody specific societal anxieties. Take the Japanese legend of the Kuchisake Onna, or the slit-mouthed woman. A vengeful spirit of a woman mutilated by her husband, she wanders the streets wearing a surgical mask and asks children if they think she's pretty. No matter how you answer, your fate is grim. This story taps into fears of random violence and the impossibility of escaping a determined predator. It also reflects anxieties about beauty standards and the violent consequences they can have. Her question weaponizes a social pleasantry, turning a simple interaction into a life-or-death scenario. The horror is in the inevitability and the powerlessness of her victims. She represents a rage that cannot be reasoned with, a past trauma that continues to inflict pain on the innocent. Similarly, in Latin American folklore, we have the legend of La Llorona, the weeping woman. She is the ghost of a mother who drowned her own children in a fit of rage and despair after being scorned by their father. Now she wanders near rivers and lakes, eternally weeping and searching for her lost children, often taking living children who wander too close, mistaking them for her own. The psychological horror here is deeply rooted in themes of guilt, grief, and maternal failure. La Llorona is both a figure to be feared and a figure to be pitied. She represents the terrifying idea that grief and despair can warp a person, turning a mother, the ultimate symbol of life and protection, into a figure of death. For children, she's a classic don't wander off monster. But for adults, especially parents, she embodies the fear of making an unforgivable mistake, a transgression so profound that it condemns you to an eternity of suffering. She is a haunting symbol of eternal, inconsolable grief. So why do these stories persist? Why do we continue to tell our children about witches who eat them and ghosts who steal them? Because on a psychological level, these stories serve a vital purpose. They are a safe way to confront our deepest fears. The psychoanalyst Bruno Bettelheim argued in his book The Uses of Enchantment that fairy tales help children process complex and frightening emotions. By experiencing fear in a controlled fictional environment, we learn to manage it. These stories give a name and a face to abstract anxieties. The fear of being lost is Hansel and Gretel. The fear of deception is the big bad wolf. The fear of inconsolable grief is La Llorona. Folklore acts as a kind of fear simulator for the human mind. It allows us to explore worst-case scenarios from the safety of our own homes. These narratives provide us with frameworks for understanding the darker aspects of human nature and the world around us. They teach us that monsters exist, but they also, and this is crucial, teach us that they can be outsmarted, overcome, and survived. Gretel pushes the witch into the oven. Little Red Riding Hood is saved by the woodsman. These small victories in the face of overwhelming horror are essential. They offer a glimmer of hope and empower us with the idea that even in the darkest of woods, there is a path back home. These tales are not just artifacts of a superstitious past. They are living, breathing narratives that continue to evolve and resonate because the fears they represent are timeless. The fear of the unknown, of betrayal, of losing our loved ones, of our own darker impulses. These are not things that disappear with scientific advancement or modern enlightenment. They are fundamental parts of the human condition. Folklore is the language we develop to talk about these fears. It's a shared cultural dreamscape where we can confront the monsters within and without. The true horror of folklore isn't about the ghouls and goblins. It's about the terrifyingly familiar human emotions that create them. The jealousy, the rage, the desperation, the hunger. These stories hold a dark mirror up to humanity, and what we see reflected there is, and always will be, ourselves. They remind us that the oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. And the most terrifying unknown of all is the darkness that can lurk within the human heart. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the unsettling heart of folklore. It's a vast and fascinating subject, and we've only scratched the surface today. What folk tales terrified you as a child, and why do you think they had such an impact? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read your stories. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel for more explorations into the stories that shape us. It really helps the channel grow and ensures you won't miss our next adventure. Thanks for watching, and sweet dreams.